Ukraine. Before the eastern Ukraine conflict in 2014, Ukraine aimed to move away from conscription. And in October 2013, then-President Yanukovych abolished mandatory military service. However, with rising tensions with Russia, conscription was reinstated, and by 2021, 13,575 men were drafted. After Russia's February 2022 invasion, Ukraine implemented mass mobilization, with enlistment queues lasting days, and many turned away due to high volunteer numbers. Despite this, the ongoing conflict has increased anxiety among citizens, many of whom risk everything to avoid a draft notice. Russia enforces compulsory military service, drafting over 250,000 men aged 18 to 27 annually, with 2 drafts per year. Most are drafted immediately after high school. Starting in 2024, the draft age will expand to 30, and those who receive draft notices will be barred from leaving the country. Evading the draft is a serious offense, punishable by up to 2 years in prison. Rooted in the Soviet era, this conscription remains a vital part of Russia's military strategy, particularly amid the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Despite its significance, many attempt to avoid conscription. In 2022, Russia announced plans to increase its military personnel to 1.5 million, including both professional soldiers and conscripts. Following this announcement, tens of thousands of men fled the country to escape the draft. India has never had mandatory military service, either under British rule or since independence in 1947. In World War II, the Indian Army became the largest all-volunteer force in history, rising to over 2.5 million men in size. It has since maintained the world's second-largest army after China and the world's largest all-volunteer army. While conscription has occasionally been discussed, especially during times of tension, India has consistently preferred a volunteer-based military. This approach aligns with the country's democratic values and diverse society, avoiding the social and political challenges that a compulsory draft might pose. China's military draft system integrates both conscription and voluntary enlistment. All men aged 18 to 22 are required to register, with typical service lasting 2 years. However, due to China's large population, enforcement is infrequent, and most recruits volunteer. The latest revisions, effective May 1, 2024, emphasize recruiting highly qualified college students and skilled veterans, especially during wartime. Universities, therefore, are tasked with recruiting students for military service. Under the revised rules, students can be drafted either in their hometown or at their school. This shift aligns with China's goal of modernizing its military by 2035 and enhancing its combat readiness. Taiwan's military draft, rooted in a history of evolving policies, currently mandates 1 year of active service for male citizens. Starting from age 18, women can volunteer, though they are not conscripted. Initially, conscription began in 1945 under Japanese rule and was reinstated by the Republic of China in 1949 to address defense needs post-Chinese Civil War. Over the decades, the service term fluctuated between 2 to 3 years, eventually reducing to 1 year by 2008. In 2013, a 4-month military training program was introduced as part of a transition to an all-volunteer force. However, rising tensions with China led Taiwan to reinstate a 1-year conscription term starting January 2024, reversing earlier reductions to strengthen military readiness amid increasing regional threats. United States. The U.S. military draft, first established during the Civil War and formalized by the Selective Service Act of 1917, was crucial in mobilizing troops for World Wars I and II, as well as the Vietnam War. Currently, the U.S. relies on an all-volunteer force, enhanced by various enlistment benefits. However, as a contingency, the government maintains the Selective Service System, SSS, to provide additional manpower if volunteer forces are insufficient. Since 1940, all male U.S. citizens and residents aged 18 to 25 have been required to register, though no one has been conscripted since 1973. In a national emergency, the SSS could quickly transition from registration mode to draft mode. With rising global conflicts, discussions about reforming registration requirements arise periodically, but no major changes have been implemented. South Korea enforces strict conscription due to ongoing tensions with North Korea. Established during the Korean War, the draft requires all male citizens aged 18 to 35 to serve, with terms ranging from 18 to 23 months, depending on the branch. 21 months for the Army, 23 months for the Navy, and 22 months for the Air Force. While women can volunteer, mandatory service for women is under discussion. Completing military service is a major cultural milestone in South Korea, providing societal benefits like job preference. Draft evasion is considered treason. The penalties including an 18-month prison sentence and a permanent criminal record, along with societal stigma and public condemnation. North Korea. North Korea's military draft is among the most stringent globally, reflecting the country's highly militarized nature. Draft, established before the Korean War, is enforced through quotas set by the Central Military Commission and managed locally by schools. Conscription starts at age 17 and ends at 30, with men serving up to 10 years, and women typically up to 7 years. Men face universal conscription, while women are selectively drafted. Exemptions apply to children of political elites and those with poor songbun social status. Despite claims of voluntary service, conscription is enforced with strict penalties, making it a de facto obligation. Recent reports indicate no significant changes to the system, underscoring North Korea's continued focus on maintaining a vast and loyal military force. Israel. Established in 1948, Israel's military draft mandates that all Jewish, Druze, and Circassian citizens, as well as permanent residents, serve. Both men and women are conscripted at age 18, with men serving 32 months and women 24 months. Exemptions are available for certain groups, including ultra-Orthodox Jews and Arab Israeli citizens. Following the October 7, 2024 Hamas attack, there is increasing debate about drafting ultra-Orthodox Jews, who make up about 14% of the population and 24% of military-age citizens. Their long-standing exemption has contributed to growing resentment and a deepening religious-secular divide in Israel. Iran. In Iran, all men aged 18 to 40 must complete approximately 2 years of mandatory military service in either the Army or the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps (IRGC). Before the 1979 revolution, women were also conscripted, but this was abolished afterward. Refusal to serve leads to severe penalties, including loss of citizenship rights, such as employment, education, and travel. Exemptions are often granted to those with specific familial connections, such as veterans of the Iran-Iraq War. Additionally, Iran offers a buyout scheme for compulsory military service, with fees ranging from 2.5 billion to 6 billion rials, about $10,000 to $24,000, making it accessible only to affluent families. France. Modern conscription in France dates back to the 1798 Jourdan Act, which mandated military service for eligible men. Initially implemented through a lottery system, wealthier individuals could buy substitutes while others tried to evade service. Napoleon used conscripts extensively, drafting over 2.5 million men, leading to significant losses. Conscription remained crucial during the French Revolution, but was reassessed after the Soviet Union's collapse and changes in global security. By 1996, France transitioned to a professional all-volunteer force under President Jacques Chirac. In 2018, France decided to reintroduce compulsory service, with both men and women required to complete a 1-month program starting in 2024. Germany enforced conscription from the late 19th century until 2011, with mandatory service for men typically starting at age 18 for 6 months, including exemptions for certain groups like descendants of Holocaust survivors. The policy was part of Germany's militaristic tradition with significant changes over time, especially after World War II, when the focus shifted to a defensive posture under NATO. In 2011, conscription was suspended in favor of a professional, voluntary military. Recent discussions on Germany's military capabilities have led to increased defense spending and stronger NATO commitments, but conscription remains suspended, with no plans to reinstate it. Starting in 2025, German men must complete a compulsory questionnaire at age 18 to gauge their interest in military service, which remains voluntary. Switzerland. Switzerland's military draft is mandatory for all Swiss men aged 18 to 34. Conscription involves an initial period of basic training, typically lasting 18 to 21 weeks, followed by regular refresher courses until the age of 34. While military service is compulsory for men, women can volunteer. Those who are unfit for military duty are required to pay an additional tax. Switzerland's conscription policy, in place since the 19th century, reflects its long-standing tradition of armed neutrality. Netherlands. The Netherlands has mandatory military service on paper, but it is not enforced. At 17, individuals receive a letter from the Ministry of Defense notifying them of their registration, but there is no obligation to serve. Conscription duties were suspended on May 1, 1997, so registration does not require actual service. Previously, conscription applied only to men, but in 2018, the House of Representatives extended it to both men and women to promote gender equality. Now, both genders receive a call to service at 17, but participation remains voluntary. Japan has no military draft. It relies on a volunteer-based self-defense force, SDF. Historically, conscription was used in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, but was abolished after World War II. Japan's pacifist constitution, adopted post-war, prohibits conscription, maintaining a strictly voluntary military. The SDF, established in 1954, recruits personnel from age 18. Amid regional security concerns and rising tensions in East Asia, Japan has increased its defense budget and expanded its defense roles, but continues to uphold its voluntary recruitment policy without plans to reinstate conscription. Thailand's military draft blends voluntary enlistment with compulsory service, using a lottery system for men aged 21 to 30. During this process, draftees can either volunteer for military service or enter a lottery if they do not volunteer. Volunteers serve shorter terms, while non-volunteers participate in a lottery. Black card means exemption. A red card requires 2 years of service. Established in 1954, the draft is crucial for national security and the monarchy's influence. Despite its importance, it faces criticism for transparency and fairness issues, particularly regarding exemptions and the treatment of conscripts. Myanmar's military draft is officially in place, though its enforcement and details remain opaque. Historically, Myanmar's military, known as the Tatmadaw, has heavily relied on conscription, including forced recruitment during conflicts. The legal conscription age starts at 18, but reports indicate underage recruitment has occurred. Both men and women are subject to conscription, though women's participation is less common. Recently, Myanmar reactivated conscription to bolster military ranks amid conflicts and territorial losses in Shan and Rakhine states since the 2021 military takeover. Enforced since February 2024, the law mandates 2 years of military service for men aged 18 to 35 and women aged 18 to 27. This move has sparked fear and resistance, with concerns about underage recruitment and the targeting of persecuted groups like the Rohingya.